When my wife and I bought that old house in upstate New York, we weren't really looking for something with history, just something with character. And this place had plenty of that. It was a beautiful, sturdy home built in the early 1900s, with thick walls and a big backyard that my wife immediately fell in love with. I'll be honest, I didn't feel anything strange about the place at first. Maybe a little cold in some rooms, but that's not unusual for old houses. We moved in during spring and everything just felt calm. My wife was excited to make it our own. Within the first few weeks, she invited her sister over for a few days. Her sister had just had a baby, a beautiful little girl. And we thought it would be nice to let her get away from the city and enjoy some quiet. We set her up in the downstairs bedroom. It was the most convenient for her, and we figured she'd be more comfortable there with the baby. My wife and I were sleeping upstairs, still trying to get settled. The first night we stayed, nothing seemed off. We had dinner, chatted for a bit, then called it a night. Sometime after midnight, I woke up briefly to the sound of a soft voice, like someone talking downstairs. I figured maybe my wife was up checking on her sister, so I didn't think too much of it, and drifted back to sleep. The next morning, over coffee, my wife looked a little pale. She turned to her sister and asked, "Hey, who were you talking to in the middle of the night?" Her sister gave her this confused look and said, "I wasn't talking to anyone, but I did wake up around 2 a.m. There was an old woman standing over the crib. I told her to get away." That stopped us cold. I laughed nervously at first, thinking she must have been half asleep, maybe dreaming. But she was serious. She said the woman didn't say anything, just stood there looking down at the baby with a blank expression. She blinked, and the figure was gone. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe her mind was just playing tricks on her. New baby, unfamiliar house, postpartum stress. That sort of thing can do a number on your sleep. But then little things started happening. One evening, I noticed a lamp in the living room had been moved slightly. I thought maybe I bumped it while vacuuming, but then it happened again the next day. Another lamp. Different room. Nothing major, but enough to notice. My wife was the one who really started picking up on the strange vibe. She told me she never quite felt alone in the house, especially when she was in the downstairs bedroom. Then came the smoke alarm incident. It was a clear afternoon. I was out running errands and my wife was working in the garden in the backyard. She told me later she suddenly heard the smoke alarm blaring from inside the house. She dropped her tools and ran in, heart racing, thinking maybe something had caught fire. But there was no smoke, no smell, just the alarm. She traced it to the downstairs bedroom. That room. When she opened the door, she swears she saw what looked like a thick white fog just hanging in the middle of the room. No fire, no smoke coming from anywhere. Just this cold, dense fog, and it disappeared within seconds. The alarm shut off on its own right after. She didn't even step all the way into the room. She just stood at the doorway, frozen. She told me later that whatever it was, it didn't feel like it wanted her there. That night she couldn't sleep. Neither could I. We started putting the pieces together. The old woman, the strange fog, the cold spots, the alarms, the subtle but constant sense that we were being watched. A few days later, my wife ended up talking to our next-door neighbor, an older gentleman who'd lived on the street for decades. She casually asked if he knew anything about the house's previous owners. He hesitated, then said, "Yeah, the last owner was a woman in her 90s, lived alone, sweet lady. There was a fire in the house about a year before you bought it. She didn't make it out." That was it for us. We tried to be logical. We tried to be rational. But something about that house wasn't right. Whether you believe in spirits or not, I'll tell you this. Sometimes a place holds on to things. Emotions. Trauma. Energy. We stayed long enough to finish some basic renovations, mostly just to make it livable for resale. But the atmosphere never changed. We never went back into that downstairs bedroom unless we absolutely had to. Eventually, we sold the place and moved. We didn't tell the new owners anything specific. We just wished them well and hoped the house would be kinder to them. To this day, my wife still won't talk much about what happened there. And honestly, I don't blame her. We never saw the old woman again. But I think part of her is still in that house, standing over that crib, watching.